It's going live now.
Oh, we are live.
I think so.
Yeah, I see
They
a
don't
counter.
All time the same question.
Are we live?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so confusing. Like, is the live counter because I hit that button, or are we actually streaming? Right?
I just see a spinner. What's going on?
It's loading a speaker.
After
What
a
speaker?
year, we learned it. So next
I
year
think it's
we
loading. I think it's loading Pascal's new Sonos speaker. It's loading
Yeah?
speaker.
Is it that slow?
Oh, let's go live. Hello. Hello.
Good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are.
Good day.
Good
That
day.
works, right?
Or good night. Might be
Yeah,
night
good
somewhere, probably.
Good hour.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh man, 221.7. Here we are.
Yeah.
This month was fast. Could be.
Well, it was a long month, but
No, it felt fast.
yeah, it felt fast, but it was long, right?
I'm on the brown side. It feels really long because everybody's on a holiday.
Yeah, I had a break in
Oh.
between, so then
And everything goes slower.
it's weird anyway.
That's right. You went on a holiday already.
Yeah.
I envy you. Well, not at this point anymore because I still have one holiday, like in the future, but a near future. Man, that would be great. Where's Paulus? Well, talking about holidays, he's on a holiday.
Yeah. Even we have holidays. You wouldn't say, but
Oh my, definitely. We should have more. You're a bit quiet. Am I a bit quiet?
not for me, but maybe I'm just very loud.
Could be. I did sound check, but not like sound check input. No, I'm actually pretty loud.
Yeah, you're fine with.
Yeah.
I hear
know.
you loud and clear over here.
Oh, from Hamburg. I always like. That's what I kind of like about streams. Like all the people that are joining in from everywhere in the world. It's kind of, I know, it makes me feel a bit special. You sound fine, Frank. Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. Well, should we talk about the release then? Or should we like introduce ourselves for the first time viewers? Maybe that's nice.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's
Otherwise,
do it,
we'll
right?
get comments again.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Definitely.
Frank, you're famous. You're famous. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
What?
Your
No, I'm
introduction
not.
is just great always.
Really? Hi, I'm Frank. I don't know what else to say. Like, yeah, I'm an
What do you do, Frank?
What do I do? Oh, that's the biggest question always. I don't know, man. I am doing a lot of different stuff. I don't like to be focused on a single thing. But most people will probably know me at this point from writing the release notes and doing the releases, which we are discussing today, right? But yeah, a lot of stuff on the core, on the backend. The community add-ons, indeed. Yeah, there's still
all over the place.
Yeah, I love doing all kinds of stuff, so it's kind of nice. And next to me we have the website. Yeah, that's all.
Pascal. Yeah, I live in Switzerland, and yeah, I'm working mostly for a supervisor. In old days, I created the operating system. I'm a core developer of Home Assistant. I create all the Docker images and build system. Yeah, so a bit like Frank, over the plate overall.
Yep.
Yeah. And I like to focus. I mostly work on the front end, so that's nice little project that I can focus on. No distraction from other projects. No, I mostly work on the front end. I do some other stuff also, but mostly front end. So hi, I'm Bram. I live in the Netherlands. Front end guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit, right? It's kind of nice though. Like to me, like one of the things I don't do, for example, is front end stuff.
You do. You did some PRs on
Don't
the,
tell. I always kept up. I couldn't do Python either. So no, it's just like the stuff. Like I did a Frontend PR this release, right? And I'm pretty proud of it that I pulled that off. By the way, even though it was largely like based on everything that was already there, but still, that kind of made me proud of myself a bit. But most of the stuff that you're doing there is magic for me. That's just
it ain't that magic if you know what you're doing. But,
yeah, I don't know.
But that's with everything, right?
Yeah, true.
It's magic until you know how to do it. Then it's just another thing.
Yep. Bart Coppers is asking, is this stream YouTube only? No, it's streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and I believe Periscope is still a thing. That's Twitter, right? So it should be on 3 places. But YouTube is the place to be, of course. And now we had
better? Then I sound better? I just read some comments that my audio is too low.
If you lean back a bit, then it becomes a bit lower, I guess.
Okay,
you need to speak directly into the microphone.
Directly into the microphone, but
yeah.
Yes, that's better.
Talk into the microphone.
Yeah.
I see a question where Zach Barrett is. He was busy with drag and drop front end. Actually, before he went AWOL, he's not really active with Home Assist at the moment, but he did release that as a custom view. So if you go to his repo and GitHub, you can actually install that as a custom view.
Yep. He's no longer.
If you're interested in drag and drop, go check that out.
That happens to me all the time. That's so annoying.
Siri wants to help me.
I have Google, which triggers at some time, right? And then you're like, why did it trigger? But it's like not that audible. It just ignores whatever. It triggers, but it just ignores and doesn't say anything. But Siri always talks back, even though like it misheard, right? It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Siri is mishearing a lot.
There we go.
But also when you're watching just a video on your phone, it activates and stuff. It's quite annoying.
It can activate itself. That's so weird.
Yeah, and what's even more annoying when the video then after triggered Siri skips back 5 seconds because she might have missed that, and then it triggers again, and then it skips back 5 seconds, and it triggers again, and you never get past that point.
Yep.
It's annoying. Okay, shall we go back to Home Assistant?
Yeah, so let's talk about Home Assistant. Okay, let's let me bring up the release notes. I got a tab open. That's probably a nice guide, maybe, right? I think I need to push this button. Normally, Paulus does the clicking and stuff, by the way, in case you guys know. And I'm trying to like at least do something similar. So I hope I do it right all. If not, I'm sorry. So, Home Assistant 2021.7, the July release. We're past half, by the way, in the middle of summer, which has a nice sun on it. So that's like fitting, right? Nice sun in the middle of the image.
No, it's not summer everywhere. You're focused on your own country now. It's winter in New Zealand and Australia. And,
yeah, but their winter is like our summer as well, right?
No.
No? I have no idea.
Cold. No. New Zealand, that's just snow and cold and freezing.
Really? In the summer?
Yeah.
Our summer?
In winter, our summer.
I didn't know they actually got snow.
Yeah. They have ski resorts.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Also mountains.
I feel like now like some kind of weirdo that doesn't know anything about the world. I've seen a lot of the world. I've never been to New Zealand.
You need to look ahead to Lord of the Rings or Hobbit. That's
we're detouring really quick now, but that movie was like in 10 minutes. I was like, go to that mountain, throw the ring in, and be done because I'm sick of it. I've never seen it.
Is it going to be this kind of stream? We haven't talked about
okay, let's scroll to the first thing. Let's go.
Come on, Siri, shut up. I don't know what's wrong with him.
All right, so this release, we are introducing a new entity to Home Assistant. hello, the select entity. And this is actually the front end work I've done that Bram was referring to. So this release,
like input select, Frank. What's the difference?
Yeah, what's the difference, right? So this looks like an input select in a screenshot, but actually in an input select or an input helper or drop down helper, it's called in the front end, I believe, Bram. Drop down select options helper. What's the name?
Yeah, I think so. Let me check real quick.
Something like
that. Shit, it's in Dutch.
So you could actually already do this in Home Assistant, right? You could create like an entity that was the input select entity. You could create it in the front end or in YAML, and you could then create your own like drop down, which you could select an option for. The thing with that is that it wasn't usable by integrations. So for example, as of this release, I've added it to WLED that has user presets. In the past, you would have to create your own drop-down and make automations to it. And now actually an integration could provide this as an entity, just like a sensor or a number input or what else, a switch, a light. It's like a similar kind of thing that an integration can bring in a select entity, a drop-down, and like an input select, but then managed by an integration. That's basically what it is, right? With the big difference that you cannot modify the options as a user. For an input select, you could, but for an entity provided by Home Assistant, you cannot change the options that are available.
Yeah, so the options are provided by the integration.
Yeah, it's a bit similar like the climate integration, I believe. And it has presets and stuff, right? So it provides a list where you can select from. And this is like similar. An integration can provide a thing to select. So yeah, that's new. I think it's provided by MQTT now and KNX. And well, WLab I've added it to, and I believe Rituals Perfume Genie, which is I don't know, like a perfume diffuser or something.
Yeah,
I think that would be nice. I need to add that to the Android webcam to have some of that entities. They would be improved with some things like that.
Right. Well, it has a lot of things where we could possibly use this. I'm really looking forward to how integrations are going to use this, actually.
I look forward to the integration option.
The integration option? Oh, right. That's a future discussion. Yeah, but that would be helpful for this as well, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That would be really great for that.
So I think we have now possibly all types of inputs that integrations could probably need or could provide. So I hope this like puts in like a missing piece, and that's why I edited this actually. Well, right.
Yeah, cool.
Did you get the movie reference in the screenshot, by the way? If not, then I don't know. No, really no. It's oh god, it's Spaceballs the movie.
Okay, Spaceballs the movie.
Yeah,
that sounds like a really bad movie.
It is a really bad movie.
I think I've heard of it, but Spaceballs 1987. I wasn't born then, you know.
Yeah, me neither, but I still know it. It's like, well,
you were born then.
No, I've not.
1987.
87. Oh, sorry, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you were born.
I thought no, 87. No, I was born at that time.
Yeah, you were.
Yep. Best by Mel Brooks. God. Okay, well, let's go down. What else do we have? Trigger conditions and trigger IDs.
Yeah. This is cool.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it, bro?
Yeah, sure. So, in automation, you can have multiple triggers. And until now, it wasn't possible to do something based on what trigger caused the automation to run. So we've added IDs to trigger. You can add an ID to a trigger. It could be a string or to every trigger you have. And then you can use that ID of the trigger in the automation to see what trigger caused the automation to run. So we also added the trigger condition. And in that condition, you give the ID of the trigger you want to test, and it will pause if that ID that trigger triggered the automation, made the automation run, triggered the automation, and then you can use it in a choose or in a normal condition or whatever you want to do an action based on the trigger that caused it. Trigger that triggered it.
So I'm really happy this is in, and this is mainly because I was, for a long time, I was frustrated for a lot of like similar triggers that you could not really like make a difference for in your automation. And then you had to do a lot of templating or a lot of conditions inside your automation again to figure out which trigger actually triggered. For example, if you have like a remote which has multiple buttons, and then you had to create like a remote automation for each button, or you had to check which button was pushed again with a lot of like, especially with device automations for example, Zigbee or MQTT, you would have to check all those strings again in the automation. Like, did everything match, and was this actually like the dimmer up or down button or button 2 or whatever? And now you can actually give an ID to each of the triggers, like for each button, and a unique ID. And then you can simply do in an automation is if this button was pushed, then do that, and like this button trigger it. I think that is really powerful and really helps reducing the amount of like magic and conditions you had to do in your automations. And I really discussed this a lot in meetings in the past year or something, and now Eric picked it up and made the ID happen, which is just, I think it's amazing, actually.
Yeah, also with a new automation syntax with choosing and all that new features, it's really useful.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe only one addition, try to autofill the trigger ID. It is kind of a bit of a neat idea, though.
Yeah, with a description of the trigger.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we made some in tracing. We do something like that. I don't know if we do it for triggers yet, but yeah, it's definitely a possibility for the future.
Yeah, and of course, Bram added it to the UI.
Yeah.
So this screenshot, only the condition is shown, but it's also a field on the trigger itself, right?
Yeah, on every trigger you have a new field to input an ID. And if you give it the trigger an ID, it will pop up in the drop-down of the condition.
Right.
Condition type trigger will show all the triggers of that automation.
Nice.
I think auto-generated are nice because you don't need use your brain for giving an ID, but for reading later, it's hard to understand. So the tracing use XPath-like syntax. That's it's really hard to read, but yeah, I mean it's possible. At least for a user interface, you don't need to know how that will look like. So just can select from drop and down, then it's fine. But if you use that on a YAML, it could be hard to know how exactly the auto-generated ID would look like.
Yeah, and the problem is like with the auto-generated ID, if you start like shift, there is an auto-generated ID, right? But if you start moving triggers around, then the IDs change. So that's probably not the best approach to use. Some people have used it, I've seen, though.
Yeah.
But the new IDs, I think it's helpful. IDs, I saw a little comment popping up, which I really want to put in here.
I think I know what you're...
Oh, that's the wrong one. That's another piece. Please implement the attribute trigger. I think that's been around for last year's What the Heck.
What the heck? Yeah, it was what the
So
heck.
that's almost a year now. You can actually trigger on attributes already. So wish granted, like in a second, a year ago.
It's in the state trigger.
Yeah.
So in the state trigger, you can optional define an attribute of that state to use for the trigger.
Yeah, and it's also for the numeric state, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. Talking about the numeric state, shall I scroll to that? Let's see, I think we have. Right.
Ooh. This one is
is
cool too. These are just really powerful new features for automations.
Yeah, and they're so tiny actually, like in change and what we had to do for it. It's just
there are things that could be done in other ways.
I
but
like the
it's just so much easier now.
Yeah, I like the magic of it just works. That's nice.
Right? Like we could already do this, right? I've seen some comments of people already that said that we could already do this. Why is this? Well, it's just the magic and the easiness of use of it, right? Like you could already do this with templates, but we have not talked about what it is yet. But you could already do this with templates, but if I could avoid a template, I would. Like a template needs to be rendered and it's more error prone, while I could use maybe a cleaner syntax. That's what this is about as well. So what we have done this release is that in the numeric conditions, but also the numeric triggers, you can now reference other sensor entities as the above and below conditions. So in this example here, can I highlight that? Does that work? Yeah, that works. Nice. So in this example, there's a trigger for the numeric state of the outside temperature, but only if it goes above the inside temperature, and which is another sensor. And being able to just reference this, I think is in general just really helpful. It just reduces, indeed, like it just works, indeed. The magic, that's the thing.
Yeah. And that can be a sensor, but could also be an input helper, of course.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it's just so easy now to create an automation that depends on an input helper.
Yep.
I did that in the last a lot. I created automation with helpers, and then I added the helper to the user interface, so my wife can just change automation triggers or parameters of conditions just over the input helper or the user interface.
Yeah.
So I don't need to rewrite the automation each time you want to change something. That's cool.
So you actually created a lot of helpers to create like automation settings or something for yourself, right? And then like a settings dashboard or something?
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly. My own dashboard just for settings, yeah.
Settings dashboard, automation settings dashboard. That's actually really cool. All right, let's see. Let's go back. Well,
I love that feature. That's my that should be on the top of the release notes, by the way.
Script debugging.
Script debugging. Yeah. So what to tell about it?
Is everybody familiar with this? I wonder if everyone, if you feel all used automation, tracing, debugging, whatever you want to call it. How many people have used it? And
yeah, that's interesting. I think personally, the automation, like debugging, has been like it has been a help for my automations. Like I actually found issues at the moment it was introduced. At the moment we had automation debugging, which was 0.4. So there was April release, but it also helped me finding issues with Home Assistant. I actually fixed issues in Home Assistant because I could actually debug my automations and actually find that it was Home Assistant to blame. I think I fixed a thing around times, like trigger times that were a second off. That was just cool. Like I could see everything. They show everything, and now it's brought to scripts.
I start to use more complex automation because I can now simple trace a problem or debug automation or a script, and don't need look into logs and try to find out which log was produced from this script's run or whatever. It's really helpful.
So for people that are not familiar with tracing or debugging of automations, it's a way to check on the last runs of your automation. And in this case, we've added it to scripts. So you now also can check how your scripts ran. So you can check the conditions, what the state of the condition was at the time it ran, and if the condition was true or false, if it stopped the script or if it continued and where it continued. And you can see choose and what path it took, and you can see all the variables and the states it changed. And so you can really see what the automation did or the script did, and where it stopped, where it errored, and what the result was of the automation. So if it doesn't do what you thought it was supposed to do, it's very easy to see where it went wrong.
I can pull it up, by the way. I got one open. Shall I drop in my instance so we could see a script or an automation? Hold on. I wish I could share two tabs at once in general. Let me see. I think it's this one, share. Here we go. Let me zoom in. Hope I'm not too much zoomed in. So let's go to scripts. So I don't use scripts a lot. I use a lot of automations. So the two you see here are actually two. Well, I tried to make an officer management script, which actually is never triggered, but let me do that. So I now triggered in this little script here, and I can now check what happened. So this is the one you saw in a screenshot on the blog as well, because, well, that's the one I had.
It has a bug in it. Thomas just said it in the chat, but why is the choose path not colored? And you've used this in the blog and you haven't noticed. And
Thomas, don't no. Yeah.
What path did it took? The default one?
It took none, actually. Yeah, it took the default one, which does nothing. So it has nothing.
It should be colored still.
It should be colored still. So it's probably a bug indeed.
Create an issue.
Can fix it.
So as you can see here, like this is where it started, right? So here in the top, this is my flow, and you can see the highlighted is the path it took, and what happened, and you can like look at every single detail of the script. So I could look at the timeline it had, like the steps it took, and it's still running. So it's actually really broken. But you can also see the things it does, the logbook entries it creates, the whole integration, or well, in this case, it's even no, it's not a blueprint. It's it's a script. So you can see the whole script configuration here. But also you can see the variables that are in there and what changed and what happened. And for each step, you can actually view that what happened. So in this case, it made a snapshot of my Sonos system, and in this step, it did an unjoin of any joint speakers, and then it set the volume, and then it tried to make a decision, which didn't decide anything because I didn't provide any parameters to this script call. Then it waited. So yeah, this is basically what you could could see, right? So this is for scripts, and the same applies to automations, right? So let's see if I go to automations, for example, the attic ventilation right here. Well, this is getting more interesting, right?
So here we can also see what triggered it. The script doesn't have a trigger, but automation does, of course.
And automation has a trigger, right? Indeed. So in this case, it triggered because of the bathroom humidity. So that was probably too high, which makes sense because I took a shower like an hour before the stream. So that's probably what I'm looking at right now. Yeah, that turned it on.
No, it executed 10 minutes ago.
It turned it off, actually.
Yeah.
So what happened probably is that I took a shower indeed an hour ago. And now 10 minutes ago, the humidity dropped below a certain threshold and it turned off the central ventilation system in my home. So that's what happened, and that's what I could see here. So this is what a debugger does. You can see what it does, why it did it, which variables were at play, what happened in the timeline. So you can even see the steps it took. See, it turned it off indeed.
And you can see how long it took.
Yeah. So that's a lot of information. And well, this is now available for scripts and was already available for automations. I think it's really powerful for whatever is going on. Any moment you have, like what the...
And give great option for future steps on that. I think we can see great more things coming with that structure. Hopeful.
Which structure? What do you mean?
Automation editor. Or just a node as example.
Right, like the little tree.
Yeah.
You mean the tree view, right? The nodes. Exactly. That would be cool. Would be cool to see it on the side even, like not even if it's like maybe not even like for use or something, but just like for visual reference, maybe.
Yeah, or for knowing where you are in the automation, if you check some things, or just for to have the overview. If you use big automation, the editor is just too big to find, or you don't lose the position.
Right.
Yeah. We are thinking about it. And
I find this one kind of nice. I know it exists, but I think the question is kind of cool. Cool. I think it's a good question.
It's already there. It's in my screen. It's no. I saw another question asking why there was a download button when there's no import button. But actually, there is an import button, but it's only for devs right now. So it's mainly for debugging. So if there's an issue with tracing, you can download the trace. You can send it to us, the devs, and then we can import it, and then we can debug it and see what went wrong in the UI. Like not debug your automation, but debug the tracing of the debug.
For debugging the debug.
Debugging the debugger.
Yeah. That's why it's there at this point, indeed.
Yeah, but we might make it possible to upload it yourself, as the traces are not stored now. If you restart Home Assistant, you lose your traces. So that upload function, import function, might be extended to non-dev users.
I would love to store that. Like I can see that it's not a good idea for like SD cards and flash memory like that you want to preserve like writing actions, but like I have it on SSD, right? I would love to store it for a longer time. I would love to be able to see like why did it work?
Yeah.
Didn't it work yesterday?
I just restart my Home Assistant too often. Like I run nightly, so
yeah, me too.
I restart it daily. So yeah, I never have a lot of traces around to look at.
Right, that's how I start my day, and then I notice something, and then everything is gone already. So that's a bit annoying. I wish I could keep that around a bit more.
Yeah,
but I really like the feature. I really love that it's now available for scripts. Although I don't use scripts that much, I think it's a really powerful feature. If you're using scripts and you have issues, you can actually stop adding all those log writes or notifications in the middle to send the variables out and try to figure out why it didn't work. I think there's just click and a few. I think it's the best ever. All right.
What's next? Didn't we skip
Didn't we
bunch
skip?
stuff, or did we? We did. We went back. We already went back.
Script debugging, the referencing, we had that one. Oh,
Working with dates.
working with dates and templates.
This is yours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is it's actually probably the smallest PR I did. Like one of the smallest. Like this is actually something we already had. It was just not exposed. In the core, like in the code of Home Assistant, we have logic that actually is able to parse dates, and that has been exposed. So the story behind this, if I look at the forms, like what most people are struggling with in templates, and we discussed this with many people, at least I have discussed this with many people in the past, is like working with dates is really hard. And working with dates and times in general, like talk to any developer, it's a nightmare to work with. It's all because of things like time zones and like it's just and date formatting in different parts in the world, and like dates and times are horrible. As a developer, you like hate them. However, if you look at our forums, like people find it really hard to work with dates, and I always looked at it like, how can we make this easier, right? Like, how can we make the templating and working with dates easier? And I never really saw like a solution to it until I saw a PR from, I'm not sure, somebody created a PR to fix something with dates to make it easier to use in the automations for some integration. And I was looking at it, but why? And the answer there was like, yeah, but it's hard to put a date into something workable to calculate with them. And that actually made me wonder what's happening. And the problem I've seen there is that it's really hard to put a date into something you could calculate with. So you have like a sensor that has a date string or something else that provides a date, and you want to calculate with it, then it becomes problematic. Then you have like all the forms are full with it, like SGRP that you put in a string to a specific format you specify, and then a date comes out, and then you could like, there are all kinds of steps taken. And I was like, but we have solved this in the backend. We have a little thing that you can throw a date at, and it will give you back a workable date time object.
So does it work with any format?
It does work with most formats, yes. Like a lot of formats. And that's really cool. You could just throw at it, and it will give you back a date time you can calculate with. And that's what you actually see in this little example here. This is some kind of sensor providing some kind of date somewhere in the future. And I would like to display how many days was left to my driver's license expiry, right? I believe the original example was actually the SSL cert expiry, something like that, integration. So that's where this was taken from. But if you have a date in the future and you would calculate with it, then previously you have to like all kinds of weird stuff. And now you can just say as a date time minus the time now, and then the number of days left. This will give the number of days until that time in the future that sensor provides. And still, it's pretty advanced, right? It's still Jinja, and it's still like a lot of stuff. But
and you shouldn't have to do this because the relative time can just do this for you, right?
Display
if you just want to display it, that is.
Yes. But I can see
if you want to use it in automation, then
Sure, and if you maybe want to like send a message with a number of days left in your notification, right, then things becomes different. So there are many cases where you could maybe calculate something. At least that is now a bit easier, I think. It's not.
I think my need for that is gone by adding the datetime helper for allow it to use inside the condition or automations. So I can just use the datetime helpers directly and don't need any more, a feature like that. But in the past, would be really useful to have that.
Yeah, that's actually true. We added that some time ago. So, like, it's very similar to this one, right? To one we had just now. Like to be able to send in like an entity. If you have like a trigger for time, you could say add and then another entity. That works as well now. And this was added this release as well for conditions that work on time. It does not work on date. It works on time only. The condition works only on time. But yeah, referencing this similar to the time and then add another entity, that already works. So indeed, the use is probably less. But still, if you want to work with dates, I hope this will at least make it a little bit less tedious. That's mainly it. Right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Docker tag series. You want to take this up, Pascal? There's also GitHub in here.
Yeah, exactly, the new one.
Yeah.
It's really useful for people that have a watchtower or using direct containers, but they just can now tag the major release and get all the bug fix release.
Pascal, you should move a little closer to your microphone.
I need maybe a bit different position for a microphone. Or it's really helpful. So with Watchtower, you can just decide the major tag or major release, and all bug fix release get automatically updated. If you use Kubernetes, you need to redeploy the pod, but for for things like Watchtower, it's the perfect fit.
Right, so you set the tag to 21.7 in this case, and then all the patch releases that we bring out in the upcoming month, Watchtower can pull in, and it will stay in 0.7. And once we go to the 2021.8, you will still stay at 0.7 until you manually like skip the next one, right?
Yeah, so you will only get the bug fixes and not the breaking changes or changes.
Yeah, but it's not backwards compatibility, so you can just use it with this release, but not with a release before. But for now, all the releases are tagged like that.
Yeah. And additionally, in this little example, it's already visible. We now distribute our Docker images. I believe we mentioned that already in a previous release, but we're now putting it out everywhere as the default. We now distribute our Docker images and also the images for the supervisor and all the other stuff below it via the GitHub container registry and no longer via the Docker registry. The Docker Hub registry is still active. We still put out the same tags and you can keep using it, but we now are starting to recommend and use the GitHub container registry. So.
And we use it active everywhere, so we just use now the GitHub.
Yep.
So if you use a supervised or a home assist operating system, you just use now the GitHub.
It's just a small change, right? It's just putting this little piece in front of it. That's all. That's the only difference.
Just comes from a different server.
Yep. From the source, basically, kind of, right? All right. We have some other stuff. Is there anything interesting you've seen in this release that you really want to highlight? Otherwise, any of you guys?
Yes. We updated our Docker version, our Python version on the Docker image. So it's now 3.9
Yeah,
and Alpine 3.13.
that's a major step.
Yeah,
So what
it's,
does that mean for the regular user?
It's faster.
Cool.
It's
That's nice. No, but I should not notice any negative things, or they don't have to change anything, right? It's just
it should not, yes.
yeah. Cool.
Yep. So it should not be noticeable except for a bit of speed. If you're running like one of our Docker images, like that's all like just you just get it. It's not something you have to worry about. It just happens. So that's kind of nice, right? Do you have anything, Bram?
There's a thing I spent a lot of time on that you don't really notice as well. I read the entire charts, the graphs in Home Assistant, so they are updated and rewritten. They should also be a lot faster, actually.
So this is my bad. Actually, Bram and I talked up front for the release. Like, we should mention the charge, the front end stuff we did there, because they should be faster now and a little bit more.
And custom cards that misuse them are gonna break.
Probably, maybe we should mention that. And then we released the stuff, and it was like, I think it was like an hour and a half ago or something. I was like, hey, Bram, I'm looking through my notes. I think we have to get something to add to the release notes. Yeah. So it's not in there. But Bram really redid all the graph stuff.
Yeah. And it's not the you might notice that the color changed and some small things and some time scale things changed, and it's you should notice that it's a lot faster, but other than that, not much changed.
Cool.
Should not change, at least.
I'm going to, like, my favorite addition would be which is by Klaas. Klaas has been our intern at Nabokasa, and he's been working on energy stuff, which is not in this release. It will get in the future releases. It is being worked on. But his internship ended, and he passed. He succeeded with a good grade, so congratulations. I know he's in the channel, so thank you for all the work you did. Like, really nice. But he left a little present, and I mentioned this in the release notes, but I think it's really cool because it's a new kind of like integration. He added forecast.solar, and I think it's really cool because it's just something new. It's something I've not seen in our integration stuff, and it really does what it says on the can. It does a forecast on your solar system, so you can put in the data of your solar system, on how it's positioned, how many panels you have, and how many power it delivers, and where you're positioned, and it tries to estimate your production for tomorrow and the next hour, and when your peak is tomorrow and today, and that information I think is really cool to make decisions on when could I possibly maybe do the laundry the best moment of the day, right? Or should I charge my car overnight, for example, if you have an electric vehicle, because it's cheaper on low tariffs, maybe, if you're not producing enough power the next day. Those kinds of decisions you could make based on forecasting. It's still forecasting. It's based on weather. So, well, weather could be off, but it's pretty impressive, actually. And I think it's a new kind of like a new kind of integration. I've never seen something like that before in our database.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I think you can do a lot with it, with the data you get from it.
Yeah,
and it's quite accurate. I've played with it, and it's not bad. Of course, the weather in the Netherlands is not really predictable, but
it has a lot of tweaks as well. Like if you have morning shadow, evening shadow, you can tweak it a bit, so it like tunes down its predictions a bit. Like those kind of like little buttons there as well. I think it's really cool. So even if it's way off the first time, you can still like tweak it down a bit or up a bit, whatever is needed to match your system better. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Had it machine learning, somebody asks. Well, that's based on the provider forecast.solar, which is the provider that provides it. They do machine learning and data history stuff. And I don't
think they really do machine learning. It's mostly data they get from satellites that measure radiation on the different days of the year, and then they combine that with the clouds, the forecast of how much clouds there will be that day or that moment, and based on that they calculate how much power. So actually how much sun will reach your roof, and then based on the position of your panels and how much watt it will create, and do some calculation.
But still, it seems like he's not done yet.
Cool. That's always good.
We're never done.
That's it. That's the story of our lives. It feels like everything that is related to home is never done. So Home Assistant is also never done. Yeah, I don't know. But good work, class. So big shout out to that. Really cool.
I see a question. So you can't put the actual power into the forecast? You put in the maximum amount of power your solar panels can produce, and based on that, the integration will tell you what it will produce on a given moment, based on how cloudy it is. And
yeah, so it needs the latitude, longitude of your location, the declination, the azimuth where the panels are pointed at, like to the Earth, right, to the sun. What is it? To the north? No, what is it? Like the rotation scale.
yeah,
North,
south, east, west.
Right, and the total power of your modules, what it could produce. I believe I produce 5100 watt power max. So that's in my case what I put in, 5100 max. Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah, I have a bit less.
And I'm exactly south, by the way. I actually measured it with a digital compass. I'm exactly on 180, which is like the worst position for my window to sit at in the office. But for the solar panels, it's actually really good. Yeah.
Yeah, my office is also exactly in the south, so that's great for my solar panels and less for me. But
yeah. So I think that is a cool addition. Anything else you guys have seen?
I think I'm fine.
Yeah, we had a lot of Z-Wave updates, I see, some nice services. So that's cool to see. The Z-Wave guys just keep on going, by the way, and that's just amazing. That's really cool. Some fan stuff.
We have one cool thing in the front end.
Let's go.
Something that's been asked for a lot, really a lot. And it's not completely like 100% integrated as we would like it to be, but it's support for password managers on the login page of Home Assistant. And like the techniques we use for our login page and our front end, it doesn't work really good with password managers. And it's not like we can drop that technique just like that and work another way. But we've added now fields that are the same as the password and username field you see, that can be seen by your password manager. So your password manager should be able to fill out your password now on the login page. So it's not like if you focus the input field, that it will give you the password suggestion. but the password manager should be able to find the inputs and input it. So it should be better.
So that works also for the apps?
But I'm not sure. It depends on your app probably and how it works, and I'm not sure.
Yep. So I see a couple of breaking changes coming by. One has been repeated a couple of times now, which is actually that I want to highlight. This need to mention a breaking change in the recorder. So the @ sign has been replaced by %40 in the URL. And this is a weird story, right? This is something we did not change or did not explicitly break. This is came up during the beta. If you have a recorder and you have like the connection string to connect to MariaDB or to MySQL or to whatever you use, and you have like an @ sign in your password and your username, then it will now actually break because SQL Alchemy, that's the library we use under the hood for connecting to the databases, actually fixed the bug because those connection like strings are actually URLs, and an @ sign in the URL needs to be encoded, and they fixed that. So if you have a password with an @ sign, replace it with %40, and then it will just work again. It's in the breaking changes. It's an annoying one. It's especially because there's no really a migration path or warning up front. So that's a bit like, yeah, it came in from external, and it should have been %40 from the beginning, actually. So that's where this is coming from. Right. Yeah, otherwise I think the reverse proxy is a thing. I think that was in last release already. So if you have a reverse proxy, make sure it's correctly configured in Home Assistant. And please be sure to check the breaking change section for more information on that. But if you're using a reverse proxy, you definitely want to read that part and make sure you've updated and configured Home Assistant correctly for it. You can find information in your logs. If you have it configured wrongly, your log would be like huge, filled with warnings the past month already. Like a lot, like every request, so that should be a lot, right? Yeah, otherwise I think it's a beautiful release with some really nice new handy features. And really a lot of changes, like I think 650 or something. I tweeted it. I forgot the number, but it's high again.
It's over 600.
So that's really high again, and that's really cool. So I guess that concludes 221.7, maybe. Right?
Yeah. So should I go watch baseballs now, or is that a waste of time?
I need to really Google for that. Maybe it's not worth to look at it.
No, it's one of those movies that is so bad that it's good. Like, it was made to be bad. They didn't even try to.
It's like Space Troopers.
No, that movie was actually not that bad compared to Spaceballs.
Oh, it has a 7.1 on IMDb.
Right?
That's not bad.
Right?
Okay.
Spaceballs is the best stupid movie ever. Well, there we go.
The best stupid, yeah.
Wobba says Ambi is looking good, Frank. Ambi is actually cool. I added Ambi this month as a new integration. It gives you pollen information. And if you're allergic for some pollen, it will actually give you like detailed information for every single pollen they can monitor or can give information on, which is like 14 different kinds or something. So if you know which one you're allergic for, you can actually monitor the levels of the pollen in your region and do things like, well, if it goes above a certain level, say, send a notification to close the windows and save yourself from some annoying days or nights, maybe. That's actually.
You also have a way to find out what you're allergic for, because I know I have some issues, but I'm not sure what I'm allergic for.
I think you could figure it out then, right? Like, I think you can get tested for it, but I think you can now figure it out. Like, if you like monitor all of them and you have like allergic reactions, you could check which one is high, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
That could work. But one of the questions that popped in there is like, I don't see all the pollens. That's correct. It will only show like the main pollen sensors by default, and if you want to enable specific pollen information for specific species, then you have to enable those sensors. So they are there, but they are disabled by default. That's actually a really cool API. I looked at it; it was just cool. So I was like, why not? Right? Yeah.
Another data point.
Another data point. Just assume it's everything, bro, says Ludius. So,
yeah, that's an option. But then my windows are always closed. That doesn't help.
And the curtains down. And, right? We're IT guys, so we are living in the dark. How good is Ambi's geographic coverage? I don't know. I think they're big. I really don't know. All right. Does anybody have some final question for us to drop? Like, we have Pascal today. He's not always here, so.
What also last month on the stream? But
yeah, you're not. Sometimes you're there, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's too many people on the stream, then it's also not fun.
Material design icon picker support. I actually started on it. It's on a branch somewhere, like many other things.
I would love to see that.
But yeah, it's on my list. It's on my list. It will get there someday.
So. Oh, this is one that happened as well this week or last week. Tuya integration news. Yeah, we're talking to Tuya and talking how we could like get it into core and how we could like make it work like the way they want it to be and how Home Assistant should work, like to make that combination work. So we're talking, and that helps a lot. So yeah, they want to be in Home Assistant, and we want to welcome them as well. So that's good. We're talking. That's the news at this point, and we'll see where this goes. I think that's cool. I believe Paul has tweeted about it, right? He sent like one of those screenshots from the meeting, and yeah, that's why everybody knows, I guess. But still, yeah, I think it's good to see that.
I think he tweeted the link to the beta of Tuya, something like that.
Right. Where was the debugger again? I don't see it. If you go to scripts and automations or to your scripts or automations, then there's a little like clock backwards thingy. What is it? Icon in the middle. Is the clock icon? I don't know. A history icon kind of thing. All right. Statistics record and use. That's a good question. Probably next release. There's some work done. There's also work in this release again. We've been working on some stuff on that department. Hopefully we'll be ready to ship next release, but at this point there's not much to tell or to see or to say about it. Yep. All right. Do you guys have anything for closing?
Just have a good evening.
Or day. Or morning.
Or night.
Now we're ending like we started.
Yeah.
Have a good
circle, full circle.
Right. That's absolutely true. All right. So I would say thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the release. Go upgrade. Read the breaking changes. And yeah, hopefully see you next month, which we are planning to have probably maybe even one of the biggest releases of the year.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
That's a big
That's-
promise you make.
that's a teaser, right? Oh, well, it's mostly work from you, so I'm not sure that this is not that fair. This is
I'm
not.
not
a
aware of that.
Okay, guys, see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.